Hello, I'm Richard Bishop, and this is a demonstration of using Jenkins to start a LoadRunner performance test. This screen that you can see here is the basic, pretty much default Jenkins page that you see after you've built your Jenkins server and logged in. I've done a few things to configure it so that it will talk to LoadRunner, our performance test tool, but apart from that, it's pretty much out of the box. I'll take you through some of the changes that I've made first of all. After you've built Jenkins, you need to go into Manage Jenkins, and there's a few little changes that you need to make to get it to work. The first one I remember having to change is global security. So on this I clicked Enable Security. That's to allow the nodes that are going to be running LoadRunner to connect into Jenkins. So I clicked Enable Security. I chose a random port. I think everything else here was pretty much left as default. And then I clicked Enable Slave to Master Access Control, which I think is required to allow the test nodes to connect into the master, which is Jenkins itself. So I made those changes and then clicked Save. The other thing that I changed was I added a plugin which allows Jenkins to talk to the HP automation toolset. The plugin allows Jenkins to talk to UFT or LeanFT for functional testing, as well as LoadRunner and Performance Center for performance testing. So I went into the Available tab, but I won't do that now. I'll show you the tool that I installed. It's this one here, HP Application Automation Tools. You can see that it's installed and it's version 5, which is the latest version. You've got an option to uninstall it here. I won't do. If you click on this link, it takes you to the HP software page that gives you some details of the people who've developed this, so you can contact them if you need to make any change requests or anything like that. And there's a whole load of information if you scroll further down about how to configure HP automation tools to work with Jenkins. Okay, so I'll skip that. I'm not making any changes. Go back into Manage Jenkins. A couple of things that I've had to do. One is I ran a script here in this console screen. That was to allow Jenkins to access the test reports that are uploaded from LoadRunner or Performance Center into Jenkins so you can see tests once they've run. I'll put some more detail about exactly how you do that in some notes to go with this video. And the main thing that I did was configure a node. This is running on a test PC called Richard PC, running Windows 10. And to add this node into Jenkins, I basically click the new node option. I won't do that now, but what I will do is click on here so I'll be able to configure it, and you'll be able to see the settings that I chose. So basically, when you're adding a new node, you type in the name of the node, you type in the number of jobs you wish it to be able to execute at any one time, in this case 1. You define the directory where Jenkins will store its workspace, and which is basically its project information, and then you assign some labels that can be used to help Jenkins decide which remote nodes to use to run which particular jobs. I then also chose the agent to be launched via Java Web Start, which apparently is the most reliable way of doing it. There are options to start the slave agents using services or SSH and things like that. Apparently they're not very reliable for Windows machines, so that's why I went down the Java Web Start route. So once your agent is configured, you can see in this case it's connected. What I'll do is I'll disconnect that so you can see the process for connecting an agent in. But once you've configured it, if I disconnect it, I've got it running in a PowerShell window. So it should be disconnected now. It's showing as offline. So if I want to connect, you run basically this piece of code on the node. And you can see it basically runs Java, so you need Java installed on your client, and it runs this slave jar file. And then you give that a URL, which is the IP address of the machine where we're running, together with the name of the node that you want to add, and a secret key. If I go into PowerShell, I found that this works most reliably, but I'm not sure it did work at all if I didn't run PowerShell as an admin. So running it as an admin seems to be a requirement. So if I just paste that in, and hit enter. It's making a remote connection to Jenkins now. And once it says info connected, that's fine, it's up and running. Minimize that. And what I should also see is that it's now showing as connected and effectively ready to go. So on my local PC, which is running this, I've got the Java file, the jar file here, a workspace which shows a project together with information that Jenkins has put there. I'll show you more of that later. And then two folders, one for my LoadRunner script. In this case, it's a simple demo script that uses TrueClient to connect to a basic shopping website, a demo site, and then a test scenario that runs basically a test against that site. So this test scenario contains this script. That tells you how it works. So once I've got Jenkins built, I've got my node configured. I'll go into create a build job. Now everything's described as a build, even though it's effectively a task as far as we're concerned. So to create one of these, you click on New Item, Freestyle Project, just put a scroll down. Once you've done that, you can then add in the functions for this task. For mine, I didn't have any source code or anything like that. I didn't put any build triggers in, so things aren't being triggered automatically. I have to start this particular build manually. And I added a build step. Because we've added the HP automation tools, you can see these are the options, the sort of things that you can run using HP tools through Jenkins. So for example, build an environment using lab management, run functional tests from ALM, run functional tests from the file system, run tests in Performance Center, run batch commands, do various different things. So you build steps and then you post-build actions. Again, there's a lot of HP related ones in here because we've added the HP plugin. But for example, upload test result to ALM or publish HP test. And I've chosen publish HP test, and I think the option I chose was always archive and publish HP test reports. So I won't save that, I'll skip out of that, and I'll show you the one that I've actually created, which is this LoadRunner test. And you can see that this test has executed 9 times so far, the first 3 unsuccessfully, and the most recent ones successfully. So if I click on configure, I can show you what I set for this. So it's LoadRunner test. It knows to run on a node that has LoadRunner installed on it. That's one of those node labels that I set up earlier. It's set to run an HP test from the file system, and I've told it to run a test from this folder. So here I can have D Jenkins LR scenario. That will run any LRS file in that folder. So in this case, it's going to run Magento test LRS. If there were multiple scenario files, it would run them all. The other way you can do that is by putting a full file name in. You can also put multiple lines in and it will run those sequentially. So I'll save that. I've made a minor change to it. And if I actually want to run that test, I'll show you how that runs before I go through some earlier test results. If I click build now, you can see almost immediately the controller instance starts. This is pretty much all you see, a splash screen. If I click on here, you can see from Jenkins its view of what's actually going on. So you can see it's doing a remote build on Richard PC. It's running in this particular workspace, and it tells me all the things that it's doing. So it's effectively opening up the scenario. It's set a scenario result folder, which is a uniquely named folder, so you can go back to these later, and it's starting, says the run has started, and I can see down here, I've got the little icon to show that a load generator, which is also running on this PC, is now running, serving 2 users. This test ramps up to 5 users and then ramps down. So it shows that the test is running. There's not a lot to see until the test has actually run, but that gives you a demonstration that it's started off a test. If I go back to the project, I can see the status of results over time. I can see project performance report, which basically again shows me results over time. This is running the same test every time, but there have been differences in response time for a number of different transactions. So it's a 3-step script. Opens the home page, does a search for a product, and then goes back to home. And you can see the response times for each of these has changed through the builds. So this is the response time for build 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. If you're doing performance engineering, you'd be looking to see a trend of things improving if you're trying to improve performance. And so this will give you that sort of trend line. I'll go to another test that has run. You can also see the test results. So it tells me that this test passed, there were no failures, so no transaction errors, and my page response times met their SLAs. So I can click here and download the zip file with the test results. I'll just delete the old ones. And this is effectively a standard performance testing results set that you can then open. It includes HTML reports as well as files that can be read using LoadRunner analysis, and that's a LoadRunner results set. If I look at the HTML report, you can see a standard test ran about a quarter of an hour ago, ran for 6 minutes, 5 users, and all the basic high-level stats that you would expect. Met its SLAs, page response times, and all the various charts, running users, hits per second, and so on. It's also meant to be possible to just click view and view this online. I'll see if that works. I've seen some errors in that, and I have made a change to the server config. So if it works, great. If it doesn't, then that's obviously something I need to continue working on. No, it still isn't working, so I do need to work out why I've got a problem with that. But you can download the results. And if you do this in Performance Center, you don't get that as an issue anyway. So if I look at how our build is going, telling me the scenario is still running, still at 5 users, so I've yet to ramp down. But that's a quick demo showing how LoadRunner scripts can be controlled or run from Jenkins. Some extra things that I need to look at in the future to try and improve this and get it properly used as part of a continuous integration cycle are, if I go into manage Jenkins and plugins, no, not plugins, sorry, new item. What I'd like to be able to do is build pipelines and get Jenkins to automatically kick off a job when something happens, when it detects that something happens. So it's possible to get it to check a GitHub repository, for example. When it finds new code's been checked in, it could then deploy that code to an environment and run a test and then tell you how it went. So that is something that I would like to investigate in the future. But for now, this demonstration basically was just designed to show performance tests running under Jenkins controls. So that's it. Thank you very much.